And the scene is set in Chloe Brothers' apartment where Mortimer Fitzgerald rises for the night. But something is off. He can't place his finger on it. He opens the door ever so slowly and looks down the house. It takes him but a moment to realize what is wrong. The apartment is completely silent. Not a sound can be heard from below, no sound of exercise music, no sound of pop bands playing. The cats aren't lounging on the couch. He startles visibly when he notices that the door is completely open, and he hurries back upstairs with as much speed as he can muster without spending blood to withdraw the handgun that's underneath his pillow. But as he looks through the house, he realizes that no one is there. No one at all. They've completely gone. No note, no nothing. Retrieving his cell phone from his pocket, he hastily calls Chloe, but it goes straight to voicemail. The next person he tries to call is Laird. The same thing. Lastly, he tries to contact Megan via text message, but after sitting on the couch and waiting at least 10-15 minutes, a half an hour, there's still no response. Dread, deep dread is building up inside of Mortimer now. And lastly, he calls the last Harpy that he knows remains, as he pulls out his cell phone and calls Jebediah Stitches. The phone rings a couple of times. Does Stitch answer right away or let it go to voicemail?
Hello?
Oh, thank God you're here.
Why? What's the matter?
I don't know. Chloe's gone.
Gone?
She's
Miss Brother's
just
gone?
gone. Yeah, the door's open, the cats are gone, all of her clothes are packed. She's just gone. That, and I can't get a hold of Leg or Megan. As you can see,
Hmm.
he's actually noticeably stuttering now. Mortimer is just panicked.
Well, maybe you should come round mine. I have found it hard to get in contact with certain Kindred recently. Maybe we should talk.
Right away. I'll be right there. Click, and he will close his phone and hurriedly head out the door before quickly rushing back in to realize he forgot his wallet. After sprinting up the stairs and back down again, he's out the door. He hails a taxi, and a couple minutes later, after speeding through the streets of New Sarum, the taxi pulls in front of Jebediah Stitch's house. Mortimer gets out, and as calmly as he can, he walks up to the door. He has the gun still stashed within his coat. He knocks 3 times,
After he knocks, Stitches will answer the door. Quick, come in, quickly.
and he
And
will.
follow me. We're going to my workroom. And he leads him upstairs into basically his tailor workshop. And sits him down on a stool and then sits on his work table. Now, what exactly happened?
As Mortimer tries to calm himself, he does remember a couple nights ago, Chloe was talking about a nightmare she had, so he starts with that. As he says that Chloe had a nightmare, it seems, a couple nights ago. She dreamed about it. You know,
It.
it. The the enemy within.
Oh,
She
it,
said that she, as he pauses for a minute thinking back, She said that she needed to take care of something, but she didn't exactly say what, as I could recall.
Well, you know the young lady more than me. I can't help her with that. But everything's gone. All of her possessions, her beloved pets.
Yes. It looks like she just up and left. No struggle, no anything. Just gone.
Have you tried to contact the others?
I have. Me and her have been having trouble contacting Laird and Megan these past couple of nights. But, well, those two are always busy with something, so we didn't think much of it, though.
Yes. I've had trouble contacting my Bruja. I always call him Bruja. He's a Toreador. The most Toreador, Bruja Toreador I know. Recently, my Anarch friend, Mr. Rojas, he seems to have disappeared as well. I think maybe since all the business with that damn child, people are just flying the nest. Maybe we know in our hearts that we're not going to change. That in a year's time, we're just all going to die. What's the point of dying twice, Mr. Fitzgerald?
There is no point, but... And you can tell that he has a pained look on his face. He's too stressed out to even be able to put that much of a defense, that much of a mask on to hide his anguish.
Now, come and calm down. How about a nice little cup of blood? And Stitches will go and he'll prepare you. It's basically a tea set, but he'll pour out blood into a cup and then hand you the cup. Sit down. It's silly drinking it like this, but I do like my little rituals from life. Keep me centered.
As Mortimer smiles and says, I can see the appeal. It's nice to be reminded of how it was.
Yes.
As he notices the teacups, these are like proper, like a tea set, like not some sort of store-bought, like things.
Oh no. Stitches have had them for years and he's quite old.
You actually see Mortimer looking at them right now. He examines how they were crafted by hand. How
Bone
long have you
china.
had these, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I think I got them when I got married to Dolly. When I was about, well, late 20s. It's a long time ago. About 70 years, I suppose.
And you kept it all this time?
I keep a few trinkets. Can't keep everything. What's that silly film? There's a line from it. You don't own your things end up owning you. But it still is nice to have a few mementos, especially of people you did care about when you were kind. Anyway, calm your nerves. How long have you been Kindred, Mr. Fitzgerald?
As he will drink from the tea set. Mortimer will say, not as long as you, my good sir. I've been a Kindred for no more than... Gosh, I almost lost track. Gosh, the fledgling years seem to just fly by. Was it 50? No, not 50. Younger. You must forgive me. I suppose I have not fully recovered my nerves yet.
Well, to be perfectly honest, you've been Kindred longer than me. I lived to be 100 before I was turned. I've only been Kindred now, well, this year coming up, 4 years.
Really?
Indeed.
I would have never guessed you. So I didn't mean any offense as he looks at you and notices now that your appearance is more towards the curse of the Nosferatu than towards your years as being a kindred, as he shakes his head for his ignorance.
On occasion, when I have managed to do my mask right, I do try to appear as how I looked, the little old man. If I was another clan, that's how I would look now. It's only because of my clan's specific problems that I ended up like this. A blessing in disguise, though, I feel.
It, I have a question. You don't have to answer though. This is a little personal. It's just I never got a chance to ask a a long-lived kindred before, like yourself.
Long live Kine.
Long-lived kind. Sorry. I, as you can tell, he's still nervous, but there's a glint in his eyes now. What was it like to live your life?
I enjoyed it. I had a wife, I had a family, I had children. Towards the end of my years, it was a pleasure to see them grow and have their own families.
You had grandchildrens?
I am a great-great-grandfather now.
That's fantastic news.
Well, I've thought about contacting them. I've even spoken with other kindred about ways of trying to funnel money to them, but these days it is extremely hard. Things can be traced. Hell, I might just send them a big bundle of money in the post. A secret benefactor. It was a joy,
Likely.
but I assume, how old were you when you were embraced?
Not that much older than 20 years.
Ah, you're a young one.
Yeah.
The prime of your youth. A young man.
Mhm. Embraced, brought into the night, promised immortality, wonders beyond my wildest dreams.
I
The
do think
veil
that
pulled back in all of the fantasies that were told to be illusions and lies, the dragons that weren't thought to exist, the lords in their castles long thought to be gone, are real. It was magical at first, but, well, all
when,
fantasies must end.
well, the real life does often differ to one's illusions or expectations. I do think those that were embraced when they were young don't really grasp mortality, though. You see, when I was embraced, I was bedridden. I couldn't move, I couldn't see anymore, I could hardly hear, and a strange silhouette would talk to me from my balcony. They'd been doing it for years, but I was just a silly old man. My family had all moved away, and my wife had died at this point. So my nurses paid no mind, and I stopped talking about it after a while. But after my 100th birthday, the silhouette came into my room and took me into the sewers, and made me as I was, as I am. You don't really understand mortality until you're, well, if I wasn't embraced, I would have died and become nothing. So even though I suffered pain and disfigurement, this is better than nothing. You have never really known loss. Well, I'm making. You might have had loss in your life. You might have had pain in your life. But it's a very odd feeling to be weak and helpless and old. to know that death is coming for you, then you truly appreciate unlife.
You're right. I have lived through some very harrowing moments. The destruction of my sire, the first few days of coming to this new city. But I cannot compare to living a life, a true life, of having a family, seeing them grow up. I didn't have any of that.
One does what one does with the cards one has. It's an old saying, but one door closes, another door opens. You may not really have any children in the true nuclear family sense, but you can still live a life. You can still have a family. You can still have friends. You can still look after people, maybe adopt, as long as you don't eat them. One of the reasons why I moved to the new world, I had the bizarre privilege of attending my own funeral. My family made me hungry, and I came to America.
I'm so sorry. No one should have to experience that.
I do find it funny when Laird was one, talking about how we're just people, just different. I don't really believe in that. Our desires do change. We fight against it, but we're not the same as we were. A little while ago, I was doing some dealings with Mr. Schmidt. He was helping me out of a tight spot. My mask failed. The look on his face, the look on my ghoul's face is when I came home. I've heard stories about what happens, but when a Nosferatu fails his mask, apparently it portrays the beast even more so. I was truly hideous indeed. That's what we all look on like on the inside. That's what we have to fight against. That's why we're so scared of losing ourselves to that. That's why I suppose existence becomes even more important. We don't want to lose ourselves, Mr. Fitzgerald.
No, you're right. I've I've seen the beast too. You could say that you see the beast daily. Did you ever wonder what it was that I dreamed about? I've never told anyone before. Well, I've hinted at it with Emily when she had her episode. When she dreamed of the beast, it was the most terrified I have ever seen Miss Brothers. I
Is that what
remember when
you...
I...
Sorry, carry on. How rude of me.
Sorry, I'm... Gosh. When I first had the nightmares, back when I was first embraced, I screamed like she did. And I've had the same dream every night ever since. It it is death, the extinction of the man, the woman, the person, the soul that lived, that breathed, that loved. It is it is nothing. It's emptiness without end, shackled with the form and hunger of our own human failings, our own bestial needs, wrapped inside a nightmare. And right as he points directly into his chest, there, every second of every night,
We all have our crosses to bear. It seems though you're learning to deal with it.
I suppose in a way, maybe we are still a little bit human. How long do you think it'll be until the beast wins, Stitches? How many more nights go by until we become weak and frail and powerless, not because our bodies are frail, but because we've lived so long that we just don't even have the will to care anymore? When everything that we ever loved is gone and we are truly and utterly alone.
The sad fact is you're going to change. You can't help it. You will. I had, well, not benefit, I suppose. It was educational when my sire, Mr. Rhea, introduced me to the prince. Well, the Senchelle, I suppose. We call her Queen Anne. She's very old. Not as old as Mithras, but Mithras hasn't been around for a while. But I was introduced to kindred that, well, were a good 300-400 years old. They are different to neonates. They have cold eyes and cold hearts. They truly are what people think of as vampiric. They still latch on to parts themselves, but they're just different. I can understand why certain kind get the shivers when they're around them. They're not truly human anymore. That's why I always find it funny when people talk about the Sabbat and say how inhuman they are. The Camarilla are just the same, really. Don't tell anyone else I told you that, by the way, please, mister.
Your secret's safe with me. After the things I've seen in this city, I don't... You're not wrong, Mr. Stitches, you're not wrong.
Seeing as everyone's flying the nest, I shall have to confide in you. I have been making moves to go my own way as well. I don't know if I was going to tell you or not. Please don't take that as an offence.
No, it's fine. It's all part of the song and dance.
Usually it's the Nosferatu that jump first, but recently it's been everybody. Everyone has been disappearing. Who knows, maybe that damn child back already and starting to eat us.
I hope not.
I was going to go to the west coast, where the anarchs reign, see how it's like over there, see what a duke can do instead of a prince. No, a baron, as they call it.
Well, if they're all like Mr. Rojas, then I don't know why California hasn't sank into the sea already.
I think Mr. Rojas is just very like himself.
And that's not bad, I suppose. It's better than not being oneself. It was very endearing of him. Very endearing.
But that's where I think I should go. Who knows? Maybe if I spend a lifetime there, I might go and see what the Sabbat are like.
If you do, and I'm still around, we'll have to send letters.
We shall. I do think that all these different sects and schools of thought are a bit silly, really. We all suffer from the same condition, we just deal with it in different ways.
Mm,
A bit like if you look at the old world, Catholics and Protestants and all the other religions at each other's throats, when pretty much they're the same thing,
yeah.
just looking at different angles. I have mixed heritage myself. My mother was Jewish and my father was Italian, from Venice. So I can see things from different points of view. But, well, we'll see. I would like to talk to a Sabbat, but one has to wonder if they just tear your throat out first.
If the stories are true.
If the stories are true. I do think that there's a lot of propaganda involved. It's not best to believe in everything one's betters say. Everyone has an agenda. Anyway, I'll stop this silly train of talk.
No, it has helped. Thank you. And thanks again for the blood.
No worries. No worries at all. What do you think you are to do, Mr. Fitzgerald?
I don't know. I came here to try and find my place in Kindred society. I don't know if I've found it. I really don't. But it sounds silly, but there's just something about this place. This crazy city.
Well, it is a little bit more temperamental than most.
It's a little more than that when you... It's almost like it's alive. Like it has a heartbeat. It's... When we walk down its streets, it's not stepping on stone or pavement. It's... Gosh, I'm gonna sound like one of these New Agers, but the streets are like the veins of a great organism. And no matter where you go, it's always just filled with life. Sometimes more bleak than others, but just filled with life. That's why it's so crazy is that it's impossible not to be. There's always something going on. There's always plots to be had, secrets to be uncovered. It's an author's dream. I've heard of stories, the big cities, that seem to just take on life of their own. You know, you've heard of some of the popular cities around the East Coast. Of course, the legends about the Anarch cities in the West, too. I want to stay here for as long as I can.
Well, very admirable of you. Maybe if the child does come back and sees you, she won't decide to go eating everybody.
Oh, I have a bad habit of being especially delicious to other kindred, so I sincerely doubt that, so fingers crossed.
Well, before you get consumed, may I read your book?
That's right. Oh, I left it at home. I was so panicked that I didn't even think to bring it.
Well, I'm not running away tonight. It'll be a few more nights' time. Do feel a bit guilty about that. I still
A
haven't
lot.
finished a commission for Miss Tardalaris.
A lot has happened these past few nights. It's understandable. Unlife happens.
It does. I'm sure the red dress is very far from her mind at the moment.
Hmm. But then again, with her, you never know.
Indeed, one doesn't want a Toreador coming after you.
Hmm.
I shall finish it and keep it. If she ever returns or tracks me down, I shall give it to her. And then that's that. Another commissions of late.
As Mortimer will look around at your workshop right now and see all of the suits lining the walls. Do you make all of these yourself?
Yes, I do get help from Mr. and Mrs. Rivers. The dress side of things is all Mrs. Rivers. I don't really do that. Very old-fashioned, but I'm a gentleman's gentleman. Never was trained to make dresses.
That's still an honorable trade nonetheless. You do
It
have
is.
your art. How are you able to keep up with your art with all of this happenings around the city?
I don't really
Is
think
there
about it, really. I just do it. A bit like waking up at night, feeding the ghouls, hunting. It just happens throughout the day. If it was ever taken away from me, I think I might be in a lot of trouble.
it used to be that way for me in writing, but as the years went on, it became harder and harder to put pen to paper. There used to be so much magic, and maybe that's one of the things that's changed. Could I really call myself a writer when I don't write?
The brutal truth of that is no.
As you actually see Mortimer smile for a minute. I suppose I can't, can I?
But you do put pen to paper. You have your transcripts.
Yes, yes, I do. My latest transcripts, written at the most peculiar time in the most peculiar place.
That'd be so down in the dumps, Mr. Fitzgerald. Maybe you
Oh
just need to
no,
find a new muse.
do not worry about me, Mr. Stitches. I think I'm gonna be alright now. You see, I think I might have been refusing to change a little bit too much. The
One
world
has
doesn't
to
stand
change.
still, and neither should I. Oh, forgive me.
No, you speak wise words. That's one of the ways our kind end. If you refuse to change before you know it, the world has run away and you can't understand it anymore. I really do think most kindred meet final death by their own hands.
I can see that we we just lose track. of who we are, I suppose. Who we really are in these nights.
It's funny, really. You may not have noticed it because you were quite young when you was embraced, but the older you get, time goes faster. Even when you get into your 40s, you think back in the memory and you suddenly realise that was 5 years ago. But it seems like yesterday. And the older you get, the more it gets like that. You have to make an effort to stay in time, I suppose. Otherwise, you just drift away. If you ever become an elder, maybe the centuries just drift away. But that's why you have to keep changing and moving and keeping up with the times. There's no point calling for a horse and carriage when there's hover cars.
Now that would be interesting times indeed.
We still have to see that yet. I've seen the world change in many ways, but it's never been how people have predicted.
Well, you never know the things they can do with technology today. You'd think that it was just magic.
I suppose that's what technology is to you if you don't understand it.
Yeah. I suppose that's just the beauty of perception, though. Like you said, you look at it multiple ways, still the same thing in the end. Thank you, and I mean it.
My pleasure.
Who knows what we'll be in 100 years from now?
Well,
I think I'm starting to look forward to find out.
should we have a little barter, a little bet?
Go on.
In 100 years' time, if you're still existing, come to New Serum, and we shall meet. Here, I won't be living here at the time most likely, but at this premise of the address, and we shall have a little chat about how things are and what we've done. Maybe you could give me another manuscript to read.
I do believe I would have to have changed quite a bit for me to not be delighted by that prospect.
Well, let's shake on it then, Mr. Fitzgerald. And Stitches will reach out his long, spindly arm with his long, spindly fingers and shake your hand.
We have an accord.
We do.
Don't look too boring a life, Mr. Stitches.
I try not to, even though when I do try to be very conservative, things always seem to happen. Well, I'm going to a barony now, so Kane knows what's going to happen.
And in the off chance that I don't get immediately gobbled up upon the return of the child, I'd like to think that I'd like to go to Europe for a while.
Where?
Maybe I'll take a trip to jolly old England. Maybe even to France, Germany, maybe even Russia, who knows?
Word of advice for you. Always introduce yourself. Never say a word out of line. And never mention anything that opposes the view of the Camarilla.
So just par for the course?
A little more stronger down there. Sometimes if you mention certain things, people say in polite conversation here, it's practically a death sentence. The elders do get very touchy.
That is interesting. We might need to have another one of these conversations before you pop off to California.
There's always Skype, Mr. Fitzgerald.
There is always Skype. I'll leave behind my address, or my account name, whatever that is, with my manuscript.
Wait a second. And Stitches will run around and he'll find a drawer, opening it, take out some money, and go over and hand you some money. When you get back to your abode, why don't you just call some courier company like FedEx or something to do a delivery, and then I can have your manuscript tomorrow night.
That sounds like a delightful plan, as he will nod his head with a smile on his face.
It should be an interesting read, I'm sure.
Oh, I pride myself on it. Like I said, it was made during the most tumultuous part of of our time as Harpies of New Serum.
Well then, she'll have a lot of vim and vigour in it, I'm sure.
Oh, it will. With that, Mortimer will get up, give a gracious bow, and wish Mr. Stitches good night. He'll walk
If,
past the...
sorry, as Fitzgerald is leaving, Stitches will say, "Oh, and when you see me again, if it's just me and you may call me Cinders."
Cinders.
It's how I look underneath my mask and my cowl. One of the reasons why I cover myself. It's a special name, I say, for special people.
You have done me the greatest honor. Likely I should do the same. If we may meet again, call me the Briar Prince.
The Briar Prince.
It, as if he could blush, he would. He'll say, "It's a nickname that my sire gave me from before I was embraced, back when she was scouting me, back when I was just a teen author who wrote his first book that jumped to the top of the charts. She called me her little Briar Prince."
Well, I won't refer to yourself as your title all the time. It should become very boring, but Mortimer will suffice.
Thank you. But that is... that was the last name she used before she died.
I should honour it.
Thank you. Now, we both know what we look like on the inside.
That we do. That we do, Mortimer.
Good evening, Jebediah.
Good evening, and I insist you send me that manuscript. And I return address, perhaps. Oh, I've tried to send it back. I assume you have more than one.
Oh yes, by now. I've made sure to at least copy a couple. I was going to give one to all of the Harpies, although I suppose... well, I don't know when Chloe will pop up again. But I'm sure I'll run into Laird and Megan again soon.
I'm sure you will, in time. And all the others of the city, if they survive.
Let's keep our fingers crossed, shall we?
We shall. All of them, if possible. But good luck, Mortimer.
Same to you, Mr. Stitches. And with that, he will head down the stairs and out the door and into the night once more.
Stitches.
No, go for it.
No, you go first. My apologies.
No, it was going to be the delivering of the book, so...
Okay, well, as Mr. Fitzgerald or Mortimer now leaves, Stitches closes the door of his house, walks upstairs to his workshop, and without realizing it, he's randomly cutting up cloth and just doing odd habits that he's had over the years. And he thinks about New Sarum and the time he's had here. An interesting time, an education in a new world. And he hopes he can get in contact with all the kindred that have suddenly gone very quiet. They'll all come back in time. And then he wonders what it's going to be like to live in a barony. They can't all be like Mr. Rojas, like Mortimer said. But anyway. And then he pours himself another cup of blood and sits down and thinks of and lost loved ones and his family.
The following night, a FedEx package will be delivered to the address of Mr. Stitches. When he opens it, he will find a document entitled The Shadows of Wrenveil, Book 1, with a little note attached saying, "See you in 100 years." As he turns, you will actually see a dedication that's within the cover to the book. To my friends, both near and far, you showed me the path when I was lost. And next to that would be the epilogue. I'm not sure if he would begin to skim the pages, but he will catch one line during the opening paragraph, and it will read, "There is a city along the coast, hidden behind its own shadow, lost and forgotten Wrenveil, where the streets are and will swallow both the good and the wicked alike. It is here that our story takes place. Here where magic lies just beneath the surface, hidden but always occluded. And it is here that our story begins." With that, the scene pans out to the house, then over to the city itself, and then fades to black. And this is where Mortimer Fitzgerald's story ends. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful evening.